Hi, dog mums and dads, and welcome to another episode of The Natural Dog Mum. We're here today with Jenny Golsby. She is from the Complete Pet Company. Now, this lady is somewhat of a Jill of all trades when it comes to natural health for our puppas. She is certified in dog training and behaviour. She also provides nutritional advice and support. And in addition to that, she is also certified in something that is fairly well known overseas, particularly in Europe, but is still sort of becoming known in Australia. And that is something called Applied Zoo Pharmacognosy. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. So stick around and we'll give you all the goss. Thank you so much for coming on, Jenny. It's lovely to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. I am absolutely dying to get stuck into this because it's an area that, as I mentioned, is really just starting to emerge in Australia. Not a stack of people practicing it, and something that pet owners don't know a whole lot about. I'm still learning myself. So, would you like to start us off by telling us what applied zoo pharmacognosy actually is and how that can be used to support your dog's health?
Yeah, so I guess we sort of start from the beginning because zoo pharmacognosy is actually wild animals self-selecting. So zoo pharmacognosy means animals um, knowing and medicinally taking self-selecting medicines in the wild to help them when they're not feeling well. So the phrase coined by Caroline Ingraham in the UK is applied zoo pharmacognosy. Now, what that actually means is animals that are in captivity. So applied means that we are actually working with those animals rather so than animals actually self-selecting themselves. With applied zoo pharmacognosy, it means that we're working with nutritional supplements and mainly essential oils, hydrolats, and also clays and those types of things. So that's what applied zoo pharmacognosy means, which is people get very confused by it. It just means animals that are domesticated are given the opportunities to be able to self-select. Yeah.
So, can you give us an example of how that would work in practice?
Yeah. Okay. So it really is a science and an art. So I think I need to sort of make it quite clear here that a lot of people just seem to think that we can get essential oils, put them down for dogs or other animals, and they just sniff the oil, and that's what we do. We sort of people hear that lavender is really good for this, or geranium is good for that. So it is a science. And what we need to do is, first of all, be trained in this area, and it does take a lot of years to do this. So what we're actually doing is depending on the animal that I'm working with, we'd be looking at things like has the animal been diagnosed with something by the veterinarian, or is the person just coming to us because the animal has some pain or gut problems or whatever it might be. And then what I'm doing is taking a whole lot of case history on that particular dog or whatever, mainly dogs I work with. And then I sort of go through a sequence of oils, looking at, digestive oils, gut oils, hormonal oils, antibacterial oils, and psychotherapeutic oils. So there's sort of a pattern to what I'm doing. But when I'm offering these oils or supplements, clays or hydrolats, I'm actually looking for signs and signals from the dog to tell me that yes, they're working with that particular component, or no, they're not. And so there are a lot of signs that dogs will give us that yes, they want to stay working with that oil, or no, that oil's not quite for them right now. Which is why I'll just sort of say here, it's really important that we never, ever put essential oils on our animals. It's so important, because the example I would give is that I could pull out a bottle of lavender and you could sniff it and say, oh, wow, that just gives me a headache. And then I could give it to someone else and they say, oh, that's beautiful. It's so calming. And then I give it to someone else and it takes them back to a memory that, of something. So this is why it's so important, because in a bottle of essential oil, there can be hundreds of constituents. And so the animals actually know what they're looking for in the oil. Whereas we don't know exactly what it is that they're looking for. So we're relying on them for that information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So, can you give us some examples of some of the ways that the dog would let us know that this is something that they're comfortable with, that they want to keep working with, or no, this is something that doesn't suit me or that I'm not comfortable with?
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, different dogs will work with oils at different distances. So, if you're talking about your dolichocephalics, your greyhounds, your long-nosed dogs, they tend to work at quite a distance. I've got a greyhound here, and she works. She can work anywhere from a meter or so away. Then you've got your brachycephalics. They'll tend to work a lot closer because they'll get the oils right up close to them. And then your mesocephalics, which are maybe working at a distance that's a little bit in between those two. But again, it really depends on what's going on with the animal and how much they need the constituent in that bottle. So some of the positive signs that we would look at would be, and there can be many, dogs are very different. So some dogs will have quite unique signals, but the main things that we're looking for is breathing. We're looking for eyes, what the eyes are doing. We're looking, they might yawn, they might lick an area, they could point to an area on the body where they would like that oil used topically. They, can mouth. They can actually open their mouth so that they're using the vomital nasal organ rather so than inhaling it. Um, they will lie down in sort of the Sphinx position and pop their head between their front legs, which is really a nice positive sign. The ultimate is they flop over onto their side. So we're looking at the whole body. I'm really intrigued by dogs' ears. I find a lot of dogs will communicate with their ears, letting me know what's positive. And also tails. Some dogs, there's quite a few dogs I work with that will flap their tail a few times, which is also a really positive sign. So there can be lots of different ways. I've got a dog that actually walks past the oil and has a sniff and keeps going, and then she'll roll on the ground and then she'll come back and have another sniff. So there is quite a long list of positive signs. Some of them are easy to understand or read, and some of them we can miss, which is why I tend to record a lot of my consults so I can go back and have a really good look. Yeah. So now you want to know
So,
what the negatives are.
well, it would help to paint a picture, yes, if you can give. I mean, obviously,
Sure.
there's going to be a huge amount of variation because, like us, dogs are all individuals.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just some of the more common examples.
Yeah, so the negatives will be that they'll get up and leave. So this is self-selection. We're not holding the dogs there. They're not locked in rooms. We don't make them get on beds or sit on something. They are free to come and go as they please, which is everything that I do. Even in my consults with behaviour, it's all about freedom of choice. And so a sign would be that they would get up and leave the room, but it may also be that they just want to go out and have a wee and a drink of water and process that particular oil, and then they might come back and start working again. So, that's where the little bit of sort of science and observation comes into that. The other one would be, which is quite obvious, is they will get up and actually turn around and lie down and put their back to you, which is a very, very, very clear sign that I've finished working with that particular oil, or the session is finished right now. I don't want to do this anymore. I've had my take, and I'm ready to now process those particular oils.
So, what are some of the benefits to the dogs, not just their physical health, but their emotional and mental health in taking this approach?
Absolutely everything, anything and everything. So, I can work with dogs with physical problems. Obviously, that would be anything from, gut issues through to illnesses. Um, but I also work a lot with dogs that have um, a lot of emotional issues. So that could be dogs that are reactive, dogs that are lashing out, dogs that are withdrawn, dogs that have post-traumatic stress disorder. It can be any ailment at all, because I'll give you an example. Rose essential oil can have like over 300 constituents in a bottle, right? So what is that dog actually working with? So a lot of the time, it could be physical or it could be emotional. And it can become quite confusing too. In actual fact, this little greyhound behind me, Gracie May, is a really good example of that. When she came to live with me, she had physical issues, but she also had a lot of emotional issues. And me being a human thought that I knew best, what she would need first. So I started to work with her with emotional oils. And she was just like, no, 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 not interested, not interested. And I thought, wow, this is not going very well. I'm going to make a great practitioner. And then I started to work with the physical oils, and she was, yes, 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 I want to work with those physical oils. So it was a case of the physical pain that Gracie was in needed to be dealt with first by her before she could then start to delve into all the emotional history that was going on. So it absolutely anything. These are medicines. They're not nice smelling oils. These are medicines. They're to be taken very seriously. The oils that practitioners use are extremely pure. Around 80, I think it's around 89% of essential oils worldwide are adulterated. So we need to be extremely careful what oils we are using, which is why now I have my own essential oil brand, Heal by Choice. You can't just pull an oil off a shelf and offer it, because you've got to make sure that they're fresh and pure. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, for those of us who are still learning about this process and this technique, what are some of the benefits to the dog of giving them this level of choice, rather than just saying, okay, this is the diagnosis. I know that these oils or these herbs, da 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 da. This is what we're going to do. So, what are the benefits for the dog in allowing them to be involved in that selection process?
Exactly what you said. I mean, we can only see what we can see, whereas the animal instinctively knows what they need. So, for example, if I'm somewhere and I see a dog digging in the dirt and eating dirt, then there is a reason for that. And that can be that certain compounds in the soil can be antibacterial. When they're eating grass, they could be eating grass for a number of reasons. It tastes good, like there's nothing better than fresh grass after the rain. It tastes yummy. I tend to munch on it as well. But it can also be to help with parasites. Depending on how the grass goes in and which end it comes out, will tell you exactly what's going on. Is it a gut thing? Is it a parasitic thing? So they by allowing them to be able to choose, and we should always give animals choice. I mean, what gives us humans the right to make decisions for them? So by allowing them the choice to do this, we allow them to make themselves better. So, for example, if I have somebody that comes to me that has a dog that keeps getting ear infections or has an ear infection, I'm not looking at the ear infection. So that's not where I go. I'm not going to start sticking things in the ear and saying do this or do that. What I would do is then go, okay, well, the ear is connected to organs in the body. And so therefore I start there with the oils, looking at what's going on internally in the gut, in the microbiome, what is the bacteria overload in the gut, and therefore the dog starts to choose oils and build up a picture for me so I can see exactly what's going on, rather so than worrying about the ear, because the ear is not the problem.
Interesting. So in doing that, in self-selecting, they're also helping to provide you with a clearer picture in
Absolutely.
where the source of the problem is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's sort of like another example I give people to help them understand is when you're not feeling well, when you've got a cold or something like that, you might crave oranges, right? And so you will eat oranges and eat oranges, and you send your partner, your friend off to buy a kilo bag of oranges because that's all you want to eat. And then when you start to feel better, your body says you don't need oranges anymore. And so therefore what happens is someone presents you with an orange and you go, oh no, I couldn't eat that. And it's simply because your body is saying what you need, when you need it, how much you need, and now you don't need it anymore. So, there's a system that works with that. It's, it's animals that will self-select on things that would normally be something that they wouldn't take. But when they're not well, they're looking for those particular medicines in that particular plant. Yeah.
Interesting. So how did you get started? What led you to working in this field?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we'd have to go back a very long way, because my background, is, I guess my whole thing started, like everybody else's. I had a real problem dog. There's a story on the website, you can read about it. But, I had a problem dog, or what I thought was a problem dog, and I went to trainer after trainer after trainer, and I did all things that I shouldn't have done, and I knew instinctively that wasn't right. So I started on this journey of learning more about what dogs are, how they communicate, nutrition and why that's important, because this particular dog had skin problems as well. You keep pumping these same things into them that people tell you that you should. And I wasn't seeing any benefits. And, all of this sort of drew a picture for me that the behavioral problems are connected to the nutritional problems. And there's so much more going on. So it's a very big picture. I had a dear friend of mine, Eileen McLean, who had a business called Natural Animal Care, and she was an amazing homeopath. And I worked alongside Eileen for a number of years, and she taught me amazing things about homeopathy. And sadly, Eileen passed away. But I was so grateful that sort of took me on this journey of holistic medicine, I guess you would call it. And essential oils have been in my life for probably, gosh, I don't know, 15, 16 years. I've been sort of dabbling around with essential oils myself. And then I just wanted to look more into why we need to give animals choice, and how these issues of illness that we see in dogs can be blamed on nutrition, but it goes a lot deeper than that. And so emotional states of dogs has a massive play in that, and pain as well. 80% of dogs are suffering in pain. It's huge. And so essential oils then sort of led me on this journey to find out more from Caroline Ingraham. So I'm like you, I guess I started investigating it, and I needed to know more. But I also then learned very quickly that this is not something you mess around with. It is a science, and there's a lot to learn, a lot to learn. So that sort of sent me on a journey to go, okay, well, everything I do is about, behavior, nutrition, anatomy, because I make harnesses as well that are anatomically correct, long leads, the DIY mix. And so Heal by Choice, Nature's Pharmacy, just sort of, you can't have one without the other. All of those things are so important to have a happy, well-balanced animal in homeostasis. Yeah.
Absolutely. So now that we're on the subject, do you want to walk us through what you're doing through the Complete Pet Company and your products? I know you're covering a number of areas. Nutrition is a big one. Do you want to
Yeah,
tell us
so
more about it?
that same dog, Simba, the Dane that I was talking about before, with behavior problems, as we call them, and skin problems, um, I that's when I started to look into nutrition. So we're going back 30 years at that, and I sort of started to think to myself, this can't be that difficult, because the body is a motor, just like a car, and if you put good fuel, good water, service it regularly, it functions quite well. So I started to look at what a dog is. It's a carnivore. What does it eat? And then that was back in the day before we had Google. We only had books, and then library books and common sense. And so I started to, do a little bit of research and play around a bit. And that led me to having 7 extremely healthy dogs. And people in the neighborhood started to ask me, wow, what are you feeding your dogs? Which led me to start creating the complete meal. I started in my bathtub at home and built a company where I manufactured tons of a complete meal, and sent that throughout Australia and helped customers. Then I opened my first shop in 2009. Along with that came complete canine communication. So I was studying and learning about behaviour as well. That sent me travelling overseas for years and years, studying with professionals over there, looking at different ways of working with dogs, because in Europe, they're definitely ahead of the game.
Very much.
Than we are here in Australia. And that sent me on a journey to learn about language, canine language, which I studied with Turid Rugas, as International Dog Trainers Education. And I spent 2 years learning about calming signals and the language of dogs, which is a whole different topic. And that sort of led me on to anatomy, which is why I then created my harness. And then at the beginning of January, I decided that I wanted to close my shop, for a number of reasons, mainly because things were just getting so tough. I didn't want to renew my rent, to be honest.
Right.
And I just felt, the market has been smothered with raw dog foods. And when you produce something that is so high quality, and I am so passionate about the rights of animals, where my meat came from, where my ingredients came from, everything was Australian, my packaging, my tape, my labels, everything was Australian. I just decided it was time for me to sort of move back to my roots. So I closed the shop down, and I now work online, and I still sell all natural products, as I did with the Complete Pet Company. And I also created a couple of years ago a powdered formula called the Complete Meal DIY Mix. And in that is everything that I put into my complete meal, raw food, apart from the meat. So I can send that anywhere in Australia, and you just add that to meat. It's not a topper. A lot of people are into these toppers. I'm not quite sure what toppers are, but it's not a topper. It is actually a nutritional mix that has all the vitamins and minerals and nutrients in it, including offal. So it's got everything in there, and you just add it to your meat and you've got a raw food. So that's what I'm doing now. And, just covering all those bases of everything natural. And Heal by Choice Nature's Pharmacy, Applied Zoo Pharmacognosy fits in there well. Yeah.
Lovely. And you're doing your consults, and you do some courses on different topics as well.
I do, yes. I'll be running a lot more courses now that I don't have the shop. But I am actually running one in, I think, the beginning of August. And it's actually called, I have to look at my notes here because I'm still writing it, Where Two Worlds Collide. And that particular course is going to be about canine behaviour and applied zoo pharmacognosy and how those two work together. So it'll be a day of canine behaviour and then a day of applied zoo pharmacognosy. It will be on Zoom and extremely interactive. My courses are really casual. We have a lot of fun. I'm very interested in where people are up to, in their lives with dogs and those types of things. So that will be the next course. I also have, I run courses on Discover the Dog Within, which is pretty intense. I go all right into where dogs come from, why they look the way they do, all about language, all those types of things. So, yeah.
Amazing. So for anyone who wants to have a look at your products, have a look at your courses, get in touch with you, where is the best place online to find you?
Yep. If you go to completepet.com.au, that's my website, you'll find absolutely everything there. There's a different tab for everything. I'm still updating it from my physical shop to online, but you'll see my courses, services. There's some ebooks there that you can buy, which are nice little cheap ebooks. You can also subscribe to my newsletter and get a free ebook as well. And then I send out information about the courses and what I'm actually doing. So completepet.com.au. Of course, you can also follow me on social media, Instagram and Facebook. And that's just the Complete Pet Company. I'm not that difficult to find, I don't think.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much for spending the time with us today. It's such a fascinating subject. You could talk about it for hours and hours, couldn't you?
Well, I could, yeah. I love it. I love all of it. I love how it all works together. And applied zoo pharmacognosy, I guess, in Australia is probably to most people quite new. But it really is an incredible modality, absolutely incredible. But, there are things that you need to learn. And the other thing is too, Sherry, I do online consults with applied zoo pharmacognosy,
Oh,
but
lovely.
they have to, there's a little kit that I have. They're tiny little bottles, and I send that out, and that way you've got a basic kit to work with, and I can do that online as well for people that are not, close by.
Fantastic.